Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this wonderful series of mine, the Overclock Workshop. Today, we're talking about the hurricane.
Smooth.
That was not smooth. I don't even know if that came through. It was a little snippet from the song "Hurricane" by Scorpions, which is very appropriate because we're talking about the hurricane.
I'm sure we could find like songs for every one we talked about.
There's
probably a heavy metal song called like Minigun.
I'm trying to think
Or
of one.
Storm.
I'm trying to think of one that there definitely wouldn't be, like a song called that.
Sabata.
Well, I was thinking of Sabata, but I also think Colette Wave Cooker is easily the most.
Colette.
Well, Colette is probably a song.
Yeah, it's probably like a romance one.
Mm-hmm. Same with Wave Cooker.
Yeah.
Well,
that sounds just like another heavy metal. A lot of things in this sound like heavy metal.
That's because
Which
deep rock
sense.
is pretty metal. I wouldn't call it that heavy. Because it's funny dwarf. Anyway, welcome back to the Overclock Workshop, the series where we each present an overclock idea from every category, clean, balanced, and unstable, and verbally and physically assault each other over them.
If
we're
we
taking the physical aspect toward to the maximum today.
If we were in the same room, I would brutally beat the shit out of Harry for his obscene ideas.
If we were in the same room, Tyler would fail to do so because I'd wager I'm a lot stronger than him.
That is so rude and accurate, but mainly rude.
Anyway, sorry, I had a moment there where I felt like making a really stupid noise until I realised that's probably not a good idea.
I'm so glad that you decided against such a foolish task.
Oh,
no.
Right, my clean overclock. I like this one. It's called Irish Cream. An obvious reference to it's alcohol. It's not. Well, I reckon that they're it's probably quite alcoholic. Obviously, this is a luck-based thing. So this is the Hurricane's homebrew powder. Except I went silly.
No way, Harry went silly.
I went silly. It's basically it is silly homebrew powder. So 80 to 140% area damage. That's the normal range. That's for area damage, but it applies to area damage, radius, and projectile velocity.
Oh right, this is the one when you copied my Thunderhead overclock.
No, it's just the one where you copied. Anyway, there's also a second part which is 90 to 120% reload speed and fire rate per magazine. That's just a fun one. It means you can be slightly slower for fire rate and reload speed, but you can also be a bit higher. But that's just for fun. The top part is the important part, where you are on average getting quite a bit higher area damage and radius, and projectile velocity, which I find really funny because it'll just be like multiple shots, like different speeds, just flying around, which is just ridiculous. I think it's like they're drunk. That's kind of the idea.
Right.
So, it is a clean. It's definitely a clean, but I don't know if it's too silly. There's no real negatives here. It's pretty standard homebrew powder, just applied to things that you might not expect.
Harry.
What?
In what universe is that not too silly? It randomizes basically every single stat in the gun.
Yep. But not direct damage. And not turn speed. I should have put turn speed in as well. Maybe I should have just done that because this is just meant to be silly. I do think it's better than the the clean AoE overclock on the Hurricane. But it's still a little bit weird. Weird.
At that point, you might as well just because that is like a mouthful, and I imagine a page full of text. You should have it would have just been easier to go 90% to 120% every stat. Just get it over and done with.
Or 50 to 150%. because that's like real drunk.
I mean that's pretty bad because you're not gonna on average do better.
Well, the reason I had to split up is because reload speed and fire rate can't apply to every shot, can they? Reload speed obviously doesn't apply to shots, and fire rate can't apply to every individual shot because that doesn't make sense. It has to be for the whole magazine, but it varies between magazines. But obviously, if you cut that part out, if you cut out that part and the velocity part, it's just a pretty standard homebrew powder, but it affects radius as well. And I think that's something I would like to see in the Hurricane personally, because it's sort of lacking. It's not basic, but it's sort of lacking just things that make it stronger. You know,
personality, usability,
style. I think it's got style. It's got a quick reload speed. I haven't used the word
swag in a while.
No one has. It's stupid. So you're not really going to throw any real criticisms at it, other than it's obviously silly, and it is silly. I think
you've pushed clean to its limits while not giving it a downside. Yeah. And I think you were on a thin ice, buddy.
I'm always on thin ice.
But yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, yeah, I like homebrew powder.
Well, I mean,
just homebrew powder.
We sort of see it a little bit with the Bulldog, that in the instances where Gunner has homebrew powder, and that it's the only one, it's a little bit different. And I think for the Hurricane, it should just be a little bit more than just the most basic version of it. It shouldn't just be like the PGL's one, especially when it is an overclock. Although I wouldn't have minded a homebrew powder upgrade. Probably better than that nitroglycerin crap. Anyway,
perhaps
this is my pitch. This is actually the one overclock I want to be added the most. That's a lie. That's just a straight up lie. Let's go to your clean.
Honestly, I mean, obviously I've got it in front of me, but my thought process as to why I did some of the things I did is kind of lost to me because of how long ago we made these. But so I'm not sure how much I needed and or wanted this, but sharpened tips, which just increases direct damage by 4.
Yeah. Same as the mod in Tier 1.
Yeah. So that times 2, or you can pick a different mod instead of that one and get the same benefit. I can't back up this in any way.
I can back it up because I want something like this. I want the Hurricane only has one direct damage thing, really. It has that mod, but that's not really for speccing into it. You might not even use it if you do use Jet Fuel Homebrew, which is the direct damage thing. But sort of just a cleaner version of that, where you can use it in that way, but you don't really lose out on area damage either. But you're not trying to hit lots of enemies at once. That's just a positive side effect. But you just have a good amount of single target damage in this case. I think it would still feel a little bit weird because I think the Hurricane sort of has a problem in that it's like its DPS is just so low, and I don't know how much this would do to help it, but it would help it. And like I said, it's something I want, and it could, because that's another thing about Jet Fuel Homebrew. It's like the only overclock where you would use the weak point upgrade. But not anymore. I basically just see this as the dialed back version of that, and there's really no other equivalent. There's no really way of doing that feels good, because everything else sort of promotes either neutral build or AoE. Unlike this, it just sort of promotes using that aspect of the Hurricane a bit more, and I appreciate that. Although I do think maybe it suits a little bit better, like a more middle of the road one where you have the mod that adds +4. You have Jet Fuel Homebrew that adds a lot, but takes away a lot of area damage. I think maybe if this concept was applied to a balanced, I'd be more interested. Where it is like
it's kind of how it works most of the time.
It doesn't have the bonus effects of Jet Fuel Homebrew, like increasing velocity and all that. But it increases direct damage quite a bit and reduces area damage by a little bit. So it sort of just tips it a little bit, but it doesn't actually hurt your area damage as much as Jet Fuel Homebrew does, but it doesn't increase your direct damage as much. I would want that more than this, because this is just that upgrade, but as an overclock. But either way, I'd be happy with this if it was added as well. Well done, good sir.
Go me!
You created a real clean guy.
Yeah. I think maybe because normally you do get like clean overclocks that are just mods, but normally they're like 2 mods. So normally they would add a bit more damage and like a bit more fire rate maybe to increase the damage output. So
well, if we want to,
maybe you
if we
could
just
do with
lean into it being the mini Jet Fuel Homebrew, it could increase. Well, no, the fire rate one increases velocity. That's the problem. There's a fire rate and velocity overclock. So I feel like picking it would always be a bit weird. Maybe, a very little bit extra weak point. I don't know.
maybe or like a turn speed, something like that.
Yeah, turn speed.
Because Jet Fuel Homebrew, that's like anti-turning, right? It's like dead on.
Yeah, you can still turn it, but it's much more difficult.
Yeah. So maybe this, it direct damage while also allowing turning, but it's a clean. So.
Anyway,
but
yeah, I can't really criticize it. There's other versions of this that I'd probably rather see, but as it stands, I wouldn't change anything about this. But there's just other stuff. There's other better ideas. Like, unlike mine, this is just a turning point, I think. My balanced overclocks usually are the turning point, where we either see if Tyler will become enraged or not. Medusa, or Medusa flares in particular. The flares are the main point of this. And I'll explain what the flares are in just a moment. So basically, a flare is... Okay, a rocket releases 4 flares in total, each individual rocket. And the flares, they home in on projectiles and just eliminate them. That's the main premise. That's the simple part. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know why I'm waiting for feedback. I should probably just carry on. So basically, what happens after you fire a rocket? It will release 4 flares like quickly, not all at the same time. Like there's 0.25 seconds in between each, and there'll be 4 of them in total. And if they don't find, like, basically, if there isn't a projectile for them to eliminate as soon as they are released from the rocket, they'll just fall to the ground. And if they do happen to land on an enemy, they'll just like stun it and set it on fire quickly. Was the idea. That's not really a part you're meant to use. That's sort of just sort of there in case they don't work. But yeah, cool flares, and they will just destroy enemy projectiles. That's the whole point. Reduced AoE radius and damage by a little bit. It's minus 0.4 radius, minus 2 damage. And once all the flares have been released, the missile becomes uncontrollable as well. So, there you go. I really wanted to just lean into projectile destroying as a concept and something that sort of does it automatically. And I'm not going to let go of that, but I can see this being extremely powerful. If you're willing to just dump a load of ammo out into the world, you'll basically just stop everything from getting to you. But at the same time, oh yeah, I guess you probably could nullify like an entire like menace volley. You know what? I think I might immediately. Sorry, before you say anything, I think I might immediately dial this back to 1 flare per rocket. A single rocket take out 1 projectile without using the rocket. That's the idea. There we go.
Well, so you're sacrificing damage output for, I guess, defense, right?
Yeah, very little damage is lost.
Yeah, but very little damage is gained either, as in none. You are just losing damage for the ability to, which having 4 flares come out of shots is a bit much. Like, I mean, I know you said that, but like, imagine visually what that's going to be like. If you're not even using it for the flares, you're just trying to kill something. You'll have it, pew, 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 these things flying around, falling, shooting off in directions, and they're just, and all this extra clutter, and it's not actually really doing anything. It's just shooting shots that most of the time can be shot. You know, like spitballers and
Yeah,
that.
but it's
Most of
something that
time
the
they're
Hurricane
projectiles.
struggles with compared to the other two. And there's a less constant stream, and it's also less projectile, so you want to preserve them a bit more. And it will also have defensive, like just more passive defensive capabilities of blocking shots that you might not have even known were coming towards you.
Right, but like people can deal with it otherwise by like moving, and Gunner can deal with it otherwise by also putting down a shield if it starts getting bad. So I really don't see why you would want your primary gun to be worse
It's
for
not
a
really worse
slight
though.
defense. But it is though. You are not gaining the benefits of any of the other overclocks, and you are actually losing damage because of the negatives. And you're gaining nothing other than flares that will only hurt projectiles, which aren't actual enemies. So really not reducing the threat because the enemies that are shooting the projectiles are still there, and you'll
What about
lose the ability to
against
control them as
what about
well.
against dreadnoughts like the Hive Guard and the Arbalest? Just completely, just making them to jokes. Basically, is what would happen. They would be able to, they wouldn't be able to do anything to you. And like menaces, and even I don't know how far this really goes because I don't actually know what counts as projectiles because I don't think you can like shoot a patrol bot's like laser, but maybe it could. Maybe.
Just seems really annoying. Like just do what I don't know. Just dodge or block with your shield, or like shoot them if you can normally. But like I don't know. It's just I don't see the point in making your gun worse for the objective of killing things that you could dodge normally or aren't that bad.
I do. So I don't know what to say here because I don't actually agree that this is bad. I can't be bothered to argue though. I like the idea of taking out projectiles as a mechanic and sort of seeing these little flares flying around, knocking things out of the sky.
It's not preventing
Tri-jaws.
Yeah, but they're still gonna be spewing shit at you, right? Like it's they sure you'll be destroying them for now, but like, so what? So you're using the rockets to shoot something else while the flares are preventing you from being shot from elsewhere, or are you supposed to be also shooting the thing that's shooting the projectiles while cancelling it out?
Could be both. Depends on how close the closest projectiles to you or to the missile.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're going to be killing those things slower. Well, you could just like kill them.
It's not that slow. It's like -2 area damage.
Sure, but it's picking this over something else that would increase it. Your damage and killing potential.
Well, if there's no projectiles to hit, the flares just fall to the ground. And I was thinking maybe they could work like an area thing, but it was just like if they happen to land on an enemy, then they'll set it on fire. Originally it was like, what if they're like fire bolts? But that's a bit too much. It should just be a luck thing, basically. It's more situational, so maybe finding a way to do it where it wouldn't take anything away would be better. I think it's a fair one that the missiles become uncontrollable once they released all the flares, but it only really works when if it's actually going to have 4 flares or more than one. So maybe stripped back, it could actually offer some valuable utility as a more clean thing, where each missile can take out a projectile without using the rocket itself. Maybe that. How about that? Where rockets missiles just pass through projectiles and like they destroy them without destroying themselves. As a clean.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not bad, but it's also not possible. I imagine most of the time, like for the projectiles that can't be like shot, they're probably not capable of being broken.
I don't know. We're spending too long on this. Sure, it sucks. Why not? I guess it sucks. I'm sorry.
You bank bonus bastard. Stand by your ideas, man.
What? Spineless. Backboneless.
That's the one.
Spineless. I was standing by it. But I'm weak-minded. Go on. It's your time.
My one.
Yeah, you're balanced.
I don't know. Alright. Triple trouble.
Yeah.
That shoots 3 bursts.
Just looks so wrong. Don't shoot 3 bursts, does it? It
Shoots
fires in
3-shot
3-round bursts.
Of constant shots. What does that mean? Oh, instead of constant shots. That makes sense.
Yeah, you didn't even need to write that. It's just stupid.
Reduced rate of fire by some. I may have gotten a bit lazy while typing these up.
A little bit.
I think originally I had it to where it was just going to be because there was a tri-burst rocket on like the weapons testing phase when they were showing us what kind of weapons they were testing out.
The rocket rifle, yeah.
Yeah.
That was lost to time.
I was going to kind of have it be like an homage and or refer it back to that. And that it's like a 3-shot thing. But then I just didn't want another overclock that turned off the main point of the hurricane being like the aim. So then I was just kind of went more with like just having it shoot bursts of damage instead of just a stream. So yeah, it's more of a stop and start. So you can kind of like shoot bang, and then there'll be like a grunt's worth, and then bang, a grunt's worth, and you can kind of like time it out more and just like drip feed the damage into the. I don't know. I think it'll just play differently than just a stream of rockets that would kind of hit slowly. There'd actually just be a solid amount of damage done in an instant. And reduce the fire rate because it's just the fire rate's going to be slower because it's shooting 3 shots at a time. So I think it's mainly just to change the kind of like make it less sustained, more DPS without going full salvo module, I guess.
I don't know. I think I can see myself using it, despite the fact that it really doesn't make the gun better. And my first thought was, oh, what if like each shot was like stronger? Like the second and third shot are a bit stronger than each other. The third shot would be the strongest out of the 3, and then it'll be something like you could only have like 1 burst in flight at the same time or something. I don't know. But that seems a bit silly. Or maybe firing a second burst would turn off control for the one that's already out. I don't know. Because it really is a clean. It's a balance disguised as a clean, which you don't get very often. Because it just changes the way the gun fires instead of actually like increasing the rate of fire or increasing the amount of shots. Like it just changes the way it fires, so it actually changes the way it functions. I don't know. It's very strange, but I do like the idea of it, and it's like it's different. It's not salvo module. You're right. It's different. A 3-round burst. I think it would feel quite cool. It'd be very effective because it would one-shot things that I don't know if it would one-shot a slasher actually. It would one-shot a slasher with napalm. It would also do the same to Trijaws and Macteras, so it would feel like it's very convenient damage output, I think. So it would feel good to use, but it's not making it stronger. So I don't know if I can't tell if I take issue with it or not. I don't think I do take issue with it, but I still think it would benefit from actually making it stronger in some way, but I don't know what that would be. My initial thought was, what if it just had ridiculous projectile velocity? But then that's basically just turning off the guidance. But at the same time, I think the guidance is sort of like a mechanic that they regret adding anyway.
Clearly. I think they...
It's a gimmick that they found that just held it back, so they made a bunch of overclocks that work against it, but it overall just creates a bit of a mess. Yeah. So maybe I'm
alright.
I'm not too concerned about that. So I might actually propose that as my suggestion. That it's just extremely high velocity 3-round bursts, but not actually increasing the damage. It's almost like a sniper, but it doesn't take away the area aspect, and it feels much more responsive than something like Jet Fuel Homebrew. I don't know, but I could go with it as it is as well. I'd be happy with it as it is. So
yeah,
well done.
I mean, I don't...
well
I
done
just
on
remembered
making
there was a rocket rifle.
this is the most like this is like lawful neutral. I think this is the lawful
The
neutral
most
of
boring
balance.
build, I
Overclock.
imagine.
But the thing is, it wouldn't be boring. It's just not. It's like it's not. It's just changing without adding, and it's really confusing me because that's just not really what balanced overclocks do. Unsables do it sometimes. That's what salving module is kind of. I mean, you get more damage, but it's just a change really, a drastic change to function more than anything. And this is sort of like that really. You said you like a bit of a dialed back version of salving module, kind of. Not really a version of, but it's in a similar vein.
Well, it's
but
just,
I like the
don't
idea
know.
of something similar to the salving module that's more accurate, though.
Yeah, it is literally, I don't know, I just, sometimes I don't like the just constant stream of rockets that you then kind of just like have to hold in the air for a bit and then release on a target. So I just want them to just kind of do the damage, and you're kind of done.
In the
damage,
same vein, I don't
done.
always like how salving module works, especially with how bad it feels at longer ranges. So
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. But
I think this probably helps alleviate that. I still think there's definitely room for like the second and third shot like being a bit stronger as well. Maybe that could work.
maybe if you hit the first two shots, the third shot on the same target does
combo
a bit more
thing.
damage.
But that wouldn't be that meaningful against the stuff it already one shots, and the stuff that it doesn't, it wouldn't change much against. So it's a bit of a weird situation. Exactly. I don't know.
But maybe
you'd love to see
go
it
over the edge with like the slashes and or grunts or whatever, that kind of thing. If it teeters that line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There you go, triple trouble. That text looks so wrong to me. Like they're spelt correctly, but it just looks wrong.
It's a lot of.
I think it's the TRs and the LEs, which there are two of them. There's one. Whatever. Right. So we went in a pretty similar direction, I think. Not direction, conceptual direction, but in execution, extremely different for our unstables. I'm talking about status effects. So,
oh baby,
a lot about mine is kind of outdated. Mainly the logo. It's called MJOLNIR. It's great. The description is the quote: "Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of 4." But that's neither here nor there. The outdated part is the icon, which shows a shield with the electric logo in it. The shield is no longer relevant. It was, but I'll explain afterwards when this was much worse. Yeah. So what it actually does, rockets have a chance to produce an electric arc on impact. That's 50%. So that's just the Stubby's electric arc. It's exactly the same. Rockets also deal bonus electric damage on impact and can electrocute usually immune enemies. So that's +4 electric direct damage, like EM Refi Booster, and a 50% chance to electrocute from the direct damage. And the point of that is that it can be done to, like, the electric arc isn't going to affect an oppressor, but the direct hits will, which is sort of the point of this. It's like tasers, like taser bolts that can affect any enemies, and so can this. Not in return. The trade-off is greatly reduced area damage, which is -4, which is substantial and is subject to change. The other stuff is increased reload time, plus 1.5 seconds, which brings it up to the Thunderheads, I think. And reduced projectile velocity as well, -20%. So, we gave it electricity in 2 different ways. In AoE and in direct damage, in a way that can affect anything. Which I think is what excuses the big damage trade-off. Because you also get a lot of crowd control from the electric arcs being an area. Like, not replacing it, but doing a lot of the area damage work.
I think, generally, sure.
It's like crowd control and single target control. With a little bit more damage overall.
Not fond of the whole direct damage can tase whoever the fuck they want.
I am.
Can't.
Well, that's kind of the point of it.
I know, and I think you need to get over it. I think the taser shouldn't even do it, but it does, and which makes it like the only reason it's good. But I think some enemies should just be immune, and I think you've got to leave them that way. And the taser bolt is such a minute, tiny little thing that isn't worth picking otherwise, that it can be allowed that, alright? But this is like a generally good choice. I would feel like it probably is quite interesting to use, depending on how balanced it is. It could be broken, could not be.
I can't tell because I think it does like outweigh the penalties in terms of damage. Whereas electric arc is going to proc with every other shot. Like it's not every shot, but I still think it balances out because you're still doing a good amount of area damage. It's only -4. Like you still have 20 area damage and a lot of slowdown in an area, creeping enemies up.
Yeah.
Like
it would be pretty strong because of the slowdown in area, and the just the Hurricane as a whole isn't fantastic at AOE, really.
But it's meant to be though.
Well, it's not meant to.
I can't tell what it's meant to be. I can't. That's the problem.
It doesn't.
And I think this makes it a little bit more clear. This is more. This is more AOE obvious because even though it decreases the AOE damage, it specs into crowd control without bringing too much of a penalty to the area damage. So it's probably overall better against crowds than normal. I also made it so that they do bonus electric damage, like the rockets themselves direct. So they do a little bit more direct damage, but it's in like electric damage form, which is what that overclock for the stubby does. So you do get a slight bonus to direct damage as well. I don't think it really balances out. That was sort of a part of the taser thing, but it's neither here nor there.
The Hurricane just straight up takes probably 3 or 4 of the stubby mods. You just stolen like a bunch of the mods for the stubby and put it on the Hurricane.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess because turret arc can electrocute anything. I think, yeah. What do you know?
Yeah.
Only problem is now is that if we take away the sort of the direct damage thing, which is the taser, it becomes very similar to yours. And probably worse, I'd wager. Still an interesting choice, I think. I did find it slightly odd that the Hurricane wasn't electric anyway, because it has no. The problem with the Hurricane, it takes no ownership over anything, does it? Like, the minigun clearly has a monopoly on fire.
Yeah.
The Thunderhead has an unequivocal monopoly on neurotoxin, even though it's only one overclock, but it's still there. The Hurricane doesn't really take ownership of anything. Given that it's a Hurricane, the connection to storms.
I suppose
I'm not stupid here, am I? Like electricity, it should maybe that upgrade should have been electricity anyway. The napalm one, maybe.
Are hurricanes? Do they lightning? I thought they'd mainly just wind.
Well, yeah, but it's still like a storm thing, isn't it?
Right. I guess, and I think both of us did come to that they really shouldn't have put fire on it. Honestly,
well, no, I sort of like the idea of it having both, though.
I suppose,
but
I still think fire was such an annoying choice, and
especially
really...
with this one, it would be fun because that's like slow down AOE and fire. That's going to do numbers. Yeah. So yeah, I reckon this would be a pretty solid choice. Yeah. I sort of
unless I said otherwise, and then you'd buckle. But
I'm a coward. I mean, yeah, because like the penalties, you didn't really take issue with the penalties because it's hard to. It's made the gun slower, but not through fire rate. It's like because the reload time of the Hurricane's very fast, so I thought we'll bring that down a little bit and also make the rockets slower. But then the rockets being slower, then you can use nitroglycerin compound to greater effect, and you're probably going to use nitroglycerin compound because the stun won't be that effective, and I'm not sure how good a choice. Well, the stun won't be very good because you've got electricity instead, and I'm not sure how attractive napalm would be on it anyway. So you probably want to use nitroglycerin, and the fact that the rockets are slower just makes it better. So what do you know?
Yeah.
I did it again. I didn't piss him off.
I think it varies. It's going to be one of those that, because they, with status effects, they can kind of just decide how strong the status effects are. You know what I mean? Like, they just have an arbitrary number of how much damage it does per second. But, you know, the electricity could be really shit, or it could be very strong. But either way, it is a bit of crowd control, which would actually be like, I mean, I guess neurotoxin is pretty good at it, but I don't think any of the other primaries really have that much as a way of slowing down, well, neurotoxin mainly, but like slowing down the enemy and like just make them struggle to get to you.
Well,
which is normally
fear.
the thing.
Thunderhead's pretty good for fear.
Yeah.
The only thing the minigun really had, minigun stun's not really for crowds anyway.
No.
And the Hurricane's just a loser. But if it had this, it wouldn't be a loser. I'd say the same thing. It also wouldn't be a loser if it had your unstable.
All right. If you flick to the slide, you'll see the title, pretty sure, right? Just about there.
The title.
And I think that basically says all that needs to be said. You know, fat boy. Well, little men, ladies and gentlemen. When I heard of the Hurricane, I immediately, I mean, Harry clearly thought that electric because of the Hurricane part of it. But I thought, you know, missiles. So, radiation. But no, they went for fire. So I've added radiation. On detonation, creates an area of effect of radiation the size of AoE radius. Which I realised because I've been recently making a bunch of builds, just a ton of metric fuck ton of builds, and I've been using coal, and I realised a lot of things that things do don't care about the mods. Like, I have built many builds on the assumption that if it was like an area thing, like the EPC, like the like plasma residue, whatever it is, right? That the area of that, or the damage of that, is affected by area effect and damage of effect. But no, it does not care. It's a certain size and there's a certain amount of damage, which I don't particularly like. But upon realizing that was very recent, I realized that this should probably be a set radius. But for now, yeah. And the radiation is probably going to be maybe about as good, maybe slightly worse than the Wave Cooker one. So it's not going to be as strong as the Fat Boy.
I think it should be. I don't know. I guess it should be worse because you can. I assume you can stack. Like, that's what's going to make this really strong, is the fact that you can stack radiation fields that will deal damage to the same enemies.
And it's guaranteed every time as well.
Yeah. Which is why the ammo is definitely justified. I'd say probably the bigger one, the bigger penalty, probably.
Yeah, I don't remember the arbitrary reasons for those numbers, but yeah.
72 is the base, not the base. It's what you can. It's 2 magazines. It's 2 base magazines, and then that's free. 108 is 3 base magazines.
Right.
So it works.
And just because originally they were called like slow-mo war crimes, and then I realized how like I could have used little men, so I did do that. So mainly the projectile velocity is because of that old title. But also I don't know. I think it could do with another negative, and I think it doesn't technically reduce the damage, but it also makes it feel different, while also then having the radiation detonation at the end, which I guess it also makes it a bit more close range. Like, if it takes longer for them to reach far away, it makes the gun inherently more close range, I think. Like,
yes.
So.
And you can hurt yourself with radiation, so take that into it.
Yeah.
Take that as you will.
But yeah, I don't like doing ammo negatives, but I feel it.
This one is. I don't think I've even done one yet. It's justified here because, like, it's just really strong. It's just a really strong overclock, so we just give it big penalties. It's just power.
Like Fat Boy.
It's power.
But little men. It's like Fat Boy, but they're smaller, so
it would also be like good against like everything. That's the thing, which is why radiation is so cool, because it's like corrosion. Corrosion and radiation are pretty similar in my opinion because of that. I mean, they're kind of opposite in terms of how they function. In that corrosion is like only single target damage, or multiple from puddles, and then this like a sphere.
Like
stationary sphere, but they're still both.
It leave like a bubble of radiation.
There's like nothing that resists them. I mean, radiation. That's technically not true because radioactive enemies do, but it's only like. Well, it would be worse in the radioactive.
You just wouldn't
exclusion
run
zone.
it on the radioactive exclusion
I still
zone, though.
would because I'm crazy.
Probably, but you'll pay the price. But you know that happens for a lot of guns as well. You know, like ice, the cryo is worse in the ice blaze, but I still run it, and it doesn't really matter most of the time.
Anyway, because I'm an idiot, I think I want to propose a change to the velocity penalty. In that would probably feel very slow. I like the idea more of it just takes a very long time to get up to top speed.
Didn't even know that was a thing for the hurricane.
Yeah, acceleration. Just much slower acceleration, I think. So they take a while to get up to speed. It's almost like they almost stop when they leave the gun and then they fire off. I don't know.
I think I don't know.
It's not necessarily changed though. It's just me being stupid. I don't really have any real changes.
I can't imagine you're going to be holding down the trigger on this thing for long. You're probably going to put down like 5 or 10 of them and have like a death trail of just fucking like a bunch of dead corpses and radiation where they were, and so anything that comes from there. I didn't actually specify how long they last either, so probably only like 2-3 seconds maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Or maybe the only other thing I would suggest, we either take it as is, and as it is, it's very strong and probably broken. I don't know.
Well, it's running on the fat boy.
Well, hold on. What I'm about to suggest isn't like what I prefer, but it might be a better version of this. There's just a little bit more modest, where it is more similar to the wave cooker. Maybe we don't need an ammo penalty. Maybe a small ammo penalty. Keep the velocity penalty, but it is a chance thing, where it's like 25% chance, or maybe a little bit higher, but it would function exactly the same as the wave cookers ones, in terms of strength. So you don't need to worry about that, about changing it. So it would be exactly the same. But because this would just be nuts.
I know.
There'd be so much radiation.
I know. 50%.
So maybe what I just said is the objectively better version, but this is the version I want.
Maybe, but I think admittedly there probably is a bit too much radiation, but I think it needs to keep the ammo thing, but make it 50% because of Half-Life, and not the games.
Ooh!
The actual radiation term of Half-Life that it gets about 50%.
Me coming back to my 15 pound of uranium after 4 million years. See that it's reduced to 7.5 pounds. It's Homelander like having a breakdown.
Yeah.
I want to name an Overclock Homelander, but I don't know how. I guess that would have just been the shard factor if it was like 2 beams or something.
Yeah, missed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there probably 100% chance would be a bit much, but 50% because of radiation. Because also, I'm trying to apply like Fat Boy in that it's broken, but there's so little of it, it's fine.
But there isn't so little of it still.
There really
a lot.
But yeah, 50%. But
also,
I wanted radiation on this, and Harry wanted lightning, and we got neither. We got fire, which doesn't make any sense.
Add one of them. Eventually, we don't know when we're going to get new overclocks. We don't even know if it's going to happen now. But if it does, this has to happen. They have to give the hurricane either electricity or radiation.
Yeah, because then it would
give it neurotoxin.
Then, thing is though, even if they did that, right, it would then have 2 status effects, which would be an advantage over the
that would be cool actually. Neurotoxin and fire, like that sort of just hammers home that it's not really either of them, and it's just trying to be both but kind of failing. But that would still be pretty cool. I wouldn't be that mad.
But otherwise, radiation, electricity, either way, pretty cool. Point is,
you're gay.
We just wanted to have overclocks, and I'm gay.
No,
for Harry.
No, I was telling everyone in the audience that they're gay because it's Pride Month. And everyone's gay. Why am I can't tell if that's not homophobic.
I mean, it's not long for Pride Month.
I just didn't need to say this.
Soon we don't have to like gay people, Harry.
Oh my god, it's so close. I was just about to say, I don't even know why I brought this up because we're sort of skirting the line. We could have just not sabotaged ourselves, and you just decide to say, "Oh, we don't have to like gay people anymore. It's almost the end of the month."
Well, not yet. almost though. We can take the gay flag off our profile picture, which we actually could have done, really, but didn't. Probably for the best. Make us seem quite business-like.
We're saying this for on screen. It's like a Hiroshima reference. Oh god,
we're a little bit edgy on this.
I
channel.
didn't even. I didn't realize it though. I didn't realize. I'm going to move to the end screen. I didn't realize it though. We're definitely like the most offensive deep.
I don't.
But not. We're not that offensive, really. I don't think. We're just not that inhibited.
We just ramble about things that aren't deep rock, which opens us up for talking about real life, which opens us up for some spicy takes.
Yeah, like the recent abortion change. Oh fuck no! No!
What about the bombing of like a thing in Ukraine? Like Russia bombed a like it was like a supermarket with like 1,000 or so people in it. It's like a really busy day, and that didn't go down well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it did.
There was like reports of like experimental munitions being used. They traced them back to like something called the Hurricane. Okay, this is in poor taste. I apologise.
Yeah, probably best not to joke about a war that's going on currently. Best to avoid.
I have heard though that the Dracs are like very cheap to manufacture. So if they want to commission some, what am I doing?
The Dracs cheap.
Yeah, that's why they. Okay, okay, hold on. The in-game description. The Drac. The Drac 25 is among the newest additions to the DRG arsenal, and it's a bit of a technological marvel, capable of laying down a blistering hail of superheated plasma without hardly ever blowing up in your hands, and comparatively cheap to manufacture. Management were quick to approve and sign off on this design. It does seem like something that would just be mass-produced, you know.
You do see that in like sci-fi stuff, like the Star Wars ones. There's no normal guns laying around. They're all just like
that's
lasers.
True, but it's also not true because in the Mandalorian Jedi War, basically something that happened was that the Mandalorians, because they're smart people who are cool and strong, they realised, hold on, the Jedi just block blasters, like lasers, and just send them back at us. So what they decided to do was just use real bullets. And what that meant was they're just firing bits of metal at them. The lightsabers just melt it, so there's just like shards of like molten metal flying into the Jedi's faces instead of bouncing off the lightsabers. Citation needed.
Damn.
I just heard this yesterday on like someone's stream.
What? The Mandalorians, their armor is immune to like lasers and shit. And that's why it's as special as it is.
Beskar. Yeah.
Would it also be immune to like? I mean, the only thing that it's weak to is also Beskar, right? Like.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah. So if you had like a Beskar bullet, which I assume might appear in the Mandalorian at some point, it feels like a silver bullet kind of sitch.
Well, if the Mandalorian has to go up against a lot of lightsaber wielders, I would love them to bring that idea into it, where he just uses bullets.
There's not much of a chance of that happening. I don't know what, like, because there is a Mandalorian season 3 coming out, right? But like, the story's kind of told. Like, you know, at this point, it's just going to be like just Baby Yoda and.
Well, that's what I want. I want it to be more like season 1, where it's like more like episodic. Like each episode is something else. I like that. That's why season 1 was so good, because it felt a bit more Doctor Who-esque. Adventure every episode.
Episodic things are only as good as they are if there is an end destination, right? Like, they're fun while they last, but eventually you kind of want an end goal, or else you end up with Simpsons or Family Guy, right? Like endless time.
Oh, hold on, they're
sitcoms
sitcoms though. Sitcoms is different. That's just how they are. They don't need a story.
I suppose, but even like Doctor Who, as you mentioned, it does have a story that it tells in the background of its episodes. that leads to the end.
Yeah, that's because the things that happen matter. It's not like a sitcom where it's like new timelines every episode. Or like Doctor Who is a bit wonky like that. What would be? You're still recording, right?
You're recording.
Yeah.
What?
What?
I thought you asked if I was recording.
No, I was just asking if you knew we're still recording.
Sure, I haven't dropped the N-bomb yet.
Yeah, he'll do that as soon as we stop recording. He can't stop. He can't...
Yeah, it's pathological. Well, in all fairness, we do know a couple of Americans. Shout out to David, who might listen to this, who cannot stop. Like every other sentence. So comparatively, we are. I mean, don't say it.
I mean,
so.
he's a right figure nugget.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen,
and on that bombshell,
of Barrel Vision,
this is the end of Barrel Vision.
We never quite recovered from this video.
It's going to be
there
used as
was
evidence.
a reference to the bombing of Japan,
the whole of Japan,
abortion, the N-word, the war in Ukraine, and something else that I'm forgetting. Might as well bring up the Holocaust. Yay or nay?
I have to think long and hard about that one.
We'll get back to that one on the podcast.
Nay, definitely nay. I'm not.
Next podcast, Holocaust, yay or nay? That's going to be the thumbnail. Everyone, look forward to that.
We just didn't need to. We could have just done this straight laced. It's going well.
Have you stopped recording?
No. Rock and Stone!